Welcome back, my fellow Stoic seekers. If you've been with us through this series, you know we've already explored some deep terrain, how perception shapes our experience, how mastering emotion empowers our choices, and how self-awareness gives us clarity in a noisy world. But today, we're entering an even more powerful layer of the Stoic toolkit, one that's essential if you want to live wisely, think clearly, and navigate life with purpose. We're talking about unbiased thought, the kind of clear, focused, objective thinking that Stoicism was built to develop. Because let's face it, your mind is powerful, one of the most powerful tools you will ever have. But it's also fragile. It's like a lens that over time gets smudged with bias, distorted by distractions, blurred by ego, fear, assumptions, and all the noise of the modern world. And if we don't clean that lens, we risk seeing the world not as it is, but as our fears or insecurities want us to see it. So here's the big question for this episode. How do you train your mind to see clearly, think without distortion, and make decisions rooted in wisdom, not impulse? That's where the Stoics come in. These weren't just armchair philosophers. They were emperors, slaves, generals, teachers, people living real lives with real problems just like us. And they developed tools to help the mind stay clean, calm, and laser-focused even in chaos. In this episode, I'm going to walk you through 10 powerful Stoic lessons, not just ideas, but actual tools to help you sharpen your mental lens. You'll learn how to guard your mind from the toxicity of daily life, resist the pull of ego and dogmatic thinking, stay fully rooted in the present moment, where real life happens, and perhaps most importantly, embrace the quiet strength of humility and stillness in a world that won't stop shouting. Brain now, why is this important? Because in today's world, mental clarity isn't a luxury, it's survival. We're bombarded with breaking news, hot takes, toxic comparisons, and infinite distractions. And if we don't take control of our mental environment, it will control us. We'll become reactive instead of reflective. We'll scroll instead of act. We'll lose ourselves in the noise and forget what we actually value. But the Stoics believed something radical. Your mind is yours, your peace is yours, and you have the power to shape them both. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you paused, really paused, and asked yourself, is this thought serving me? Or is this belief helping me move toward the life I want? Most of us don't. We absorb, we react, we run on autopilot. But that stops today. In this series, we're not here to give you more information. You've got enough of that already. We're here to help you develop transformation, to build the kind of mind that's not just smart but wise, not just reactive but resilient, a mind that doesn't get thrown off course by every email, opinion, or unexpected challenge. You see, the Stoics understood something that modern psychology only recently confirmed. You are not just a product of your thoughts, you are the architect of them. Every thought you repeat, every emotion you feed, every assumption you cling to, they all sculpt the shape of your mind. And over time, that shapes the life you live. So here's your invitation. Stick with me through these 10 lessons. Each one is simple, actionable, and rooted in timeless wisdom. But together, they form a complete system for unclouding your mind and stepping into a new kind of mental freedom. Whether you're feeling overwhelmed, distracted, doubtful, or just hungry for clarity, this is your chance to reset, to slow down, to think better, not just faster, and to rediscover the strength, peace, and clarity that were always yours to begin with. In the next segment, we'll dive into Lesson 1, Mind Makeover, where we explore how your thoughts, repeated over time, literally reshape the landscape of your brain. And trust me, once you realize how much control you have over that mental landscape, you'll never see thinking the same way again. So grab your notebook, take a breath, and let's get to work. This isn't just a Stoic episode, it's your mental gym, and your strongest self is waiting. If this resonates with you, hit that like button, share this with someone who needs it, and stick around for the next part, because we're just getting started. The Stoics left us the map. Now it's our turn to walk the path. See you in lesson 1. Let me ask you something. Have you ever caught yourself thinking the same negative thought over and over again? Maybe it's something like, I'm not good enough, or life never works out for me. Or maybe it's just that slow, steady drip of pessimism that starts every morning the moment you check your phone and get hit with bad news, angry opinions, and overwhelming to-do lists. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. But here's the thing. You don't have to stay stuck in that loop. You can change it. And that brings us to today's lesson in our Stoic journey, the mind makeover. A powerful, transformative idea straight from the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius himself. Your mind will take the shape of what you frequently hold in thought. That's what he said, and he meant it. Imagine your mind as a piece of clay. Every thought you repeat, every emotion you allow to linger, every story you tell yourself, it all leaves an impression. Over time, those impressions sculpt your inner world just like a sculptor shapes marble. Now ask yourself, what kind of shape is my mind taking today? Is it becoming more anxious, more bitter, more distracted? Or is it being shaped into clarity, resilience, purpose? Because just like our bodies reflect what we feed them, our minds reflect what we think. And that's the core idea of today's episode. Your thoughts are your mental diet. Junk thoughts, junk mind. Nourishing thoughts, strong mind. Let's get real. If all you consume day in and day out is a steady stream of negativity, criticism, comparison, and fear, it's going to weigh you down. It's going to fog up your mental clarity and chip away at your confidence. Think of it like feeding your brain fast food for every meal. Sure, it might be addictive, it might be easy, but over time it drains you. You get sluggish, irritable, unmotivated. But what happens when you flip that around? When you start nourishing your mind with gratitude, stillness, empowering beliefs, and constructive focus, everything changes. Your outlook becomes clearer. You become more grounded. You stop reacting to every little thing and start responding with wisdom. That's not wishful thinking. That's Stoicism in practice. Habitual thinking is powerful, and it can be dangerous. One of the greatest traps the Stoics warned us about is letting your mind run on autopilot. When we're not intentional, we fall into thought loops without even realizing it. I'm not as successful as him. I always mess things up. I can't handle this. These thoughts become habits, and habits become reality. But here's the empowering part. Just like we develop those thought patterns, we can rewire them. We can retrain our mental habits, one thought at a time. Let's bring it down to everyday life. Picture this. You start your day scrolling through your news feed. It's filled with outrage, arguments, and negativity. Before you've even had your coffee, your nervous system is already in fight or flight mode. Or maybe every time you make a mistake at work, you beat yourself up. You tell yourself, I'm a failure. I always get things wrong. And over time, you start to believe it, not because it's true, but because it's familiar. But now imagine a shift. You limit your exposure to toxic content. You curate what you consume, just like you choose fresh, healthy ingredients at the grocery store. You pause before spiraling into self-doubt and instead say, this was a mistake, but it doesn't define me. I've handled hard things before. I'll figure this out. You start reminding yourself of your strengths, your wins, your growth. You stop feeding the fear, and you start feeding the strength. Epictetus, another great Stoic teacher, put it this way: keep company only with people who uplift you, whose presence calls forth your best. Now apply that not just to people, but to your thoughts. What thoughts are you allowing to keep you company every day? Are they lifting you up or holding you back? Here's the challenge I want to leave you with today. Start treating your thoughts like your mental nutrition. Be selective. Be intentional. Don't let fear, comparison, or negativity set the tone for your life. You are not just a passive receiver of thoughts. You are the sculptor. Every thought is a chisel. Every belief is a choice. And every day is another chance to shape your mind into something resilient, wise, and empowered. So today, do a little mental inventory. What's one negative thought you've been feeding? And what's one empowering belief you can choose instead? Drop it in the comments below. I'd love to hear it. And if this message resonated with you, give it a thumbs up, share it with someone who needs it, and stick around for the next lesson. Because this stoic journey is just getting started. Remember, your mind is your masterpiece. Let's sculpt it with intention. See you in the next episode. Have you ever walked into your home after a long day and just wanted peace? But instead, you're hit with noise, TV blaring, someone ranting, alerts popping off on your phone, and suddenly your sanctuary doesn't feel so safe anymore. Now picture this. Your mind is your home, your castle. And just like your real home, it needs protection. Boundaries, filters, a strong front door. Because what you allow into your mental space, what you watch, hear, absorb, engage with shapes how you feel, how you think, and ultimately how you live. That's why today's Stoic lesson is all about becoming the bouncer at the door of your mind. Your mind is a castle. Guard it like one. Marcus Aurelius, one of the wisest Stoic emperors, once said, "Drama, combat, terror, numbness, subservience. Every day these things try to wipe out your sacred principles." Let that sink in. Every single day, your mind is under siege. By news feeds that thrive on fear. By social media that glorifies outrage. By conversations filled with gossip, judgment, and emotional pollution. And without mental boundaries, we become open houses, vulnerable to every random thought, trend, or toxic influence that comes knocking. But Marcus didn't just warn us. He gave us a responsibility to stand guard, to be vigilant, to decide who and what gets access. The age of information overload and mental fatigue. Let's be honest, we're living in the most overstimulated era in human history. From the moment you wake up, your brain is flooded with notifications, ads, headlines, opinions, and updates. It's like trying to drink from a fire hose while sprinting. And what happens when our minds are constantly bombarded? We feel drained. We lose our focus. We get anxious, irritable, and reactionary. This isn't just modern life, it's modern survival. So the Stoic path says, if we want to think clearly and live purposefully, we have to protect the gate. 4 Stoic strategies to guard your mind. Let's get practical. Here are 4 timeless techniques to become your mind's most loyal bodyguard. 1. Be selective with your inputs. Not everything deserves a seat at your mental table. Be intentional with what you watch, who you follow, and who you listen to. Does it uplift, inspire, educate? If not, shut the door. Ask yourself, is this information feeding me or draining me? 2. Practice mindfulness and awareness. Awareness is the gatekeeper's flashlight. Notice when you start spiraling into fear, anger, comparison, or despair. Pause, breathe, redirect. Mindfulness isn't just a buzzword. It's your first line of defense. 3. Question every thought that enters. Just because a thought shows up doesn't mean it belongs. Ask, is this thought helpful or harmful? Is it based on fact or just fear? Would a wiser version of me believe this? This is mental security screening, and it's powerful. 4. Affirm your strengths. When self-doubt sneaks in, fight back. Replace "I'm not enough" with "I'm growing." Swap "I always mess up" with "I'm learning every day." Write affirmations. Speak them aloud. Reinforce your value with truth. Modern examples and how to respond stoically. The doom scrolling trap. You're stuck in a cycle of scrolling news, disasters, outrage, repeat. You feel more anxious by the minute. Stoic response. Set time limits. Curate your feed. Choose inspiring over infuriating. You control your feed or it controls you. The toxic friend. They gossip, they complain, they drain your energy. You always leave the conversation feeling heavier. Stoic response. You don't owe anyone unlimited access. Set boundaries. Limit exposure. Seek out relationships that uplift, not exhaust. The inner critic. You make one mistake, and suddenly your mind goes, "I'm such a failure." Stoic response. Pause, reflect. Would you talk to a friend like that? Challenge the lie, replace it with strength. Why this matters? By becoming the gatekeeper of your mind, you're not just protecting yourself from negativity. You're creating space for clarity, peace, creativity, and focus. You're no longer reacting to life. You're responding with purpose. You're no longer absorbing the chaos. You're filtering it. That is the Stoic edge. A simple challenge for today: take inventory. What's one thing you've been allowing into your mind that doesn't serve you? Now what's one thing you can replace it with that does? Write it down. Say it aloud. Protect your peace. You are the gatekeeper of your mind. You get to choose what stays in and what gets shown the door. So stand firm, be fierce, and never forget, your mental space is sacred. If this episode gave you something to reflect on, hit that like button, share it with someone who needs a little clarity, and stay tuned. Because in our next lesson, we'll dive into how to see through life's illusions and make decisions that truly align with your values. Until then, be mindful, be intentional, and protect your castle. Let me ask you something. Have you ever chased something with all your heart? Maybe a dream job, a relationship, a lifestyle, only to get there and feel disappointed, like it wasn't what you expected, or worse, like you lost yourself in the process. If you've ever felt that way, you're not broken, you're not foolish, you're human. And today's Stoic lesson is exactly about that moment of realization, about seeing through the illusions that life throws at us and reconnecting with what truly matters. The world is always what it seems. The Stoic philosopher Seneca warned us long ago, circumstances deceive us. We desire one thing, then the opposite. Our plans fight with our plans. He wasn't just being poetic. He was describing something we all experience, how easily we are misled by how things look rather than how they are. We chase titles, not realizing the job is soul-crushing. We scroll through social media, thinking everyone else's life is better. We say yes to everything, afraid of missing out, yet quietly burning out inside. And what drives all of this? Our emotions, our assumptions, our unchecked beliefs. Your mind is a storyteller, but not always a truth teller. Our brains are meaning-making machines. They take limited information and fill in the gaps with stories. But those stories aren't always true. That rejection. Maybe it wasn't because you weren't good enough. Maybe it just wasn't aligned. That successful friend. Maybe what you're seeing is just the highlight reel, not the whole reality. That big opportunity you're chasing. It might just be a shiny distraction dressed up as purpose. This is why the Stoics teach us not just to feel, but to reflect. Stoic tools for seeing clearly. So how do we cut through the noise and actually see life for what it is, not what our emotions or ego tell us? Here are 4 timeless tools from the Stoic playbook. Pause before you react. When something triggers you, whether it's a rude comment, a sudden setback, or an overwhelming offer, don't jump. Don't react. Take a breath. Create space. Clarity begins in stillness. Put on the objective lens. Ask, what are the actual facts? What's true here and what am I assuming? Feelings aren't facts. And while emotions are valid, they're not always reliable guides. Try to see things as if you were someone else, A coach, a wise friend, a bird looking down from above. Detach from the heat and zoom out. Follow your inner compass. We all have it, that quiet voice, that gut instinct, that sense of what aligns with our values. Trust it. The Stoics believed that integrity and inner alignment matter more than external validation. So even if everyone else is saying, go for it. If your gut says, this isn't right, listen. Zoom out and take the long view. Ask yourself, will this still matter in a year, in 5? Sometimes what feels like the end of the world today becomes your best teacher tomorrow. We talk a lot about how to handle failure, how to push through tough times, how to stay strong when nothing seems to go your way. But here's something we don't talk about enough. What happens when you actually succeed? When you get the promotion, the recognition, the wealth, the status, it feels amazing, right? But success, if you're not careful, can be a much more dangerous test of your character than failure ever was. And that's exactly what today's Stoic lesson is about. The ego trap, and how to stay grounded when life lifts you up. The subtle danger of success. The Stoics knew this well. Seneca once warned, prosperity is a more severe ordeal than adversity. Think about that for a second. When you're struggling, you stay humble, you ask for help, you remember your values, but when things go well, that's when ego sneaks in. You start to believe the praise. You crave more attention. You confuse validation with worth. And slowly, without realizing it, you stop being you and start becoming the image others expect from you. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful men in the world, wrote to himself, "Don't let yourself be made emperor. Avoid that imperial stain." Even he knew the pull of power, pride, and applause. And if he had to guard against it, so do we. Why ego feels good, but misleads you. Here's the tricky part. Ego feels like confidence at first. It tells you, you earned this, you're better than them, you don't need help. But confidence is grounded. Ego is inflated. Confidence seeks growth. Ego seeks applause. Confidence builds. Ego blinds. Left unchecked, ego makes us think we're untouchable until we fall. Modern examples of the ego trap. It's all around us. The celebrity who loses touch with reality and spirals into self-destruction. The executive who treats others like stepping stones, then burns out and ends up alone. The influencer who becomes addicted to likes, followers, and external validation, and forgets who they really are. They didn't fail because of a lack of success. They failed because they let success define them. Compass the Stoic path. Grounding practices for humility. So how do we keep our feet on the ground when the world is telling us we've made it? How do we stay centered in a culture obsessed with more? Here are 4 timeless Stoic practices that will keep you rooted, no matter how high you rise. 1. Cultivate humility. You didn't get here alone. Yes, you worked hard, but also someone opened a door, gave you a chance, supported you when you doubted yourself. Humility reminds us we are part of something bigger. It keeps us human. 2. Practice daily gratitude. Gratitude is the antidote to entitlement. Take a moment each day to reflect on what you have, not what you still want. Appreciate the people, the lessons, the setbacks that shaped you. Because what you're grateful for, you won't take for granted. 3. Stay anchored in your values. Success is seductive. It tempts you to compromise, to please the crowd, chase more money, or do what's easy instead of what's right. But your values, they're your North Star. If something costs you your integrity, it's too expensive, no matter how shiny it looks. 4. Use success to serve others. True success isn't about how high you climb. It's about how many you lift along the way. Mentor someone. Share what you've learned. Support a cause that matters. The Stoics believed virtue and contribution were the highest achievements. Everything else, temporary noise. So what does true success look like? It's not the applause, it's not the trophy. It's not the number in your bank account. True success is who you become in the process. It's about character over charisma, impact over image, legacy over likes. A challenge for you today. Take a moment to reflect. What success in your life are you most proud of right now? Now ask, have I let it inflate my ego? Am I using it to serve or to be seen? Am I still grounded in what really matters? Your answers will tell you where your compass is pointing. Remember, success isn't dangerous because it's wrong. It's dangerous because it's seductive. And the only way to stay free is to stay grounded, rooted in humility, guided by gratitude, anchored in purpose. If this episode spoke to you, give it a thumbs up, share it with someone walking their own path to success, and join us next time as we dive into Lesson 5, the know-it-all trap, and how embracing I don't know can open the door to true wisdom. Until then, stay grounded, stay grateful. And remember, you are not your ego, you are your values. Let me ask you something. Have you ever been in a conversation with someone who always has something to say? No matter the topic, politics, parenting, philosophy, even penguin migration, they act like they've got it all figured out. And if we're honest, maybe we've all been that person at some point. But here's the truth. The moment we think we know everything, we stop learning anything. And that's exactly what today's Stoic lesson is about. The know-it-all trap and the quiet power of saying, I don't know. The humble key to wisdom. The Stoics, especially Epictetus, were all about intellectual humility. He famously said, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." Think about that. If your mind is already full of assumptions, pride, overconfidence, there's no space left for truth, growth, or clarity. But when you say, I don't know, not in defeat, but in honesty, you open a door. You give yourself permission to explore, to ask, to listen. And that's where wisdom lives. Why the know-it-all trap is so tempting. Let's face it, we live in a world that rewards certainty. The loudest voice often gets the most attention. Social media favors hot takes over honest questions. We're encouraged to have opinions on everything, even if we barely understand the subject. But here's the problem. When we pretend to know just to impress or fit in, we build walls around our thinking. We stop listening. We stop asking. We stop growing. And slowly, without even realizing it, we become ignorant in the name of looking smart. So what's the Stoic alternative? It's simple but powerful. Admit what you don't know. This isn't weakness, it's wisdom. When you say, I don't know, you're not shutting the door, you're opening it. You're saying, teach me. Ask better questions. Instead of pretending to be the expert, become the curious student. Ask, what do you think? What am I missing here? Is there another way to see this? Good questions invite real learning. Listen, really listen. Not just waiting for your turn to talk. Not mentally crafting your rebuttal while the other person is speaking. Just listening. You'll be amazed at what you learn when you stop needing to be right. Use the Socratic method. Socrates, one of the Stoics' heroes, didn't preach answers, he asked questions. He challenged assumptions. He followed logic, not ego. Next time you have a strong opinion, test it. Ask yourself, why do I believe this? What evidence supports it? What if I'm wrong? That's how you turn opinions into understanding. Real-world examples of the know-it-all trap. We see it all the time. The overconfident debater who steamrolls conversations but learns nothing. The online commenter who claims expertise in 5 different fields, yet never asks a question. The boss who refuses to admit they're wrong, causing team morale to collapse. They're not just annoying, they're limiting themselves. Because growth doesn't come from knowing, it comes from learning. What humility actually creates. When you embrace, I don't know, you unlock 3 powerful things. 1, curiosity, you stop assuming and start exploring. 2. Connection. People trust those who are honest, not arrogant. 3. Clarity. You strip away false certainty and get closer to what's real. In a noisy world, humility stands out. It's magnetic, it's powerful, and it's rare. A challenge for you today. Think about an area of your life where you've been pretending to know, but deep down, you're unsure. Is it a topic you talk about but haven't deeply researched? A strong opinion you've held for years but never questioned? A situation where you've been afraid to ask for help? Here's the challenge. Say the words, "I do know, but I'd love to learn." Try it, see what doors it opens. We often chase the feeling of being the smartest person in the room, but true wisdom, it doesn't boast, it doesn't dominate, it listens, it asks, it grows. The Stoics didn't claim to have all the answers. They committed to asking better questions. And so can we. If this message spoke to you, give it a like, share it with someone who values learning over ego, and join us next time as we explore Lesson 6. The Inner Circle, how to focus on what's truly yours to control. Until then, stay curious, stay humble, and never stop asking. Let me share something that changed the way I see life, and maybe it'll shift something for you too. It's this one simple idea from Epictetus, the great Stoic teacher. Some things are up to us, and some things are not. That's it, that's the whole thing. It sounds simple, almost too simple. But once you really get it, once you internalize it, it becomes one of the most powerful mental tools you'll ever carry. Because if you're like most of us, you probably spend a lot of your time, energy, and emotional bandwidth worrying about things that are completely outside of your control. And that's exactly what today's Stoic lesson is about, the inner circle, and how to focus your life on what truly belongs to you. The Stoic circle of control. Here's the core idea. There are 2 circles in your life. In the center is what you can control. Your thoughts, your choices, your reactions, your attitude, your effort. Outside that circle is everything you can't control. The opinions of others, the economy, the weather, your past, the outcome of your efforts. And yet most of us spend our lives obsessing over that outer circle. We try to control what people think of us. We stress about things we can't predict. We spiral over things we can't change. No wonder we feel overwhelmed, anxious, and scattered. But Epictetus offers another path. Stay in your circle. Focus on what's truly yours. What happens when you stay inside your circle? When you start living from the inside out, rather than the outside in, something changes. You stop reacting to every headline, every opinion, every distraction. You start responding with intention, with clarity, with strength. You no longer feel like life is happening to you. You realize that life is happening through you, through your choices, your discipline, your focus. And that's where power lives. Wrench 4 Stoic practices to strengthen your inner circle. Let's make this practical. Here are 4 Stoic-based actions that will help you stay rooted in what's truly yours. 1. Identify your core values. What truly matters to you, not what your parents wanted, not what social media promotes, not what your boss thinks is success. What do you deep down actually value? Integrity, creativity, freedom, service. Once you're clear on that, every decision becomes easier. You don't get swayed by the noise because you've got a compass. Set goals aligned with purpose, not pressure. Are your goals built on your values, or are they built on comparison? A goal isn't meaningful just because it's big. It's meaningful because it's yours. Want to write a book? Build a garden? Start a new career? Beautiful. Just make sure it comes from within, not from a need to prove something to the world. 3. Cut the noise ruthlessly. We're bombarded every day with distractions. Notifications, gossip, endless options, unsolicited opinions. Here's the truth. You can't live intentionally if you're always reacting. That means turning off what doesn't serve you. That means learning to say no. No to the event that doesn't align. No to the email that can wait. No to the project that pulls you away from your deeper purpose. Your time is not infinite. Treat it like it's sacred. Practice mindful boundaries. This is where your peace lives. Protect your energy like you'd protect your child. You don't owe the world constant access. You owe yourself space to think, to reflect, to focus. And that means choosing what gets your attention and what doesn't. Real-life examples of the inner circle in action. Let's say you're working on a side hustle you really believe in. But every time you log into social media, you see someone ahead of you, more followers, more money, more results. And suddenly you start doubting your path. The Stoic response: refocus. Are there results in your circle of control? No is your effort, your consistency, your integrity. Yes, stay there, or maybe you're trying to improve your health, but a family member keeps making snide comments. The Stoic response: their opinion outside your circle, your habits, your boundaries, your mindset, yours to own. The results of inner circle living. When you commit to focusing on what's yours, you stop wasting energy trying to fix what's unfixable. You reduce anxiety because you no longer carry what's not yours to carry. You gain clarity, direction, and a deep sense of purpose. And most importantly, you begin living your life, not someone else's version of it. Challenge for today. Take out a piece of paper. Draw 2 circles, one inside the other. In the middle, write down what you can actually control in your current situation. In the outer ring, list what's outside your control. Then ask yourself, where have I been focusing most of my energy? And starting today, shift your focus back inward. That's where your peace is. That's where your power is. Remember, life is full of noise, pressure, and distractions, but you don't have to be swept away. You can pause, get clear, and choose to live from the center, your inner circle. If this episode helped you refocus, give it a like, share it with someone who's been spread too thin, and stick around. Because next time we'll explore Lesson 7, the Now Factor, unlocking the Stoic secret to presence and peace. Until then, stay focused, stay intentional, and protect what's truly yours. Here's something worth sitting with for a moment. The present is all we ever truly have, not the past, not the future, just this moment. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do not waste what remains of your life in speculating about others when you neglect to direct it to some goal." He wasn't being poetic, he was being precise. He was warning us, your mind will try to take you everywhere except here. And that's the heart of today's Stoic lesson. The Now Factor: how to live more fully, more deeply, more powerfully by returning to the present. The mind that time travels. Let me ask you this. How often do you find yourself replaying a past mistake or worrying about something that hasn't even happened yet? Our minds are incredible, but they're also wanderers. We relive what's behind us. We rehearse what might go wrong ahead, and we miss the only place where life actually happens, right now. The Stoics saw this clearly. They knew that a distracted mind is a suffering mind. Because when you live in the past, you feel regret. When you live in the future, you feel anxiety. But when you live here in this breath, in this step, you feel life. Why the present feels hard to stay in. You'd think it'd be easy to live in the moment, right? But think about it. Your phone pings, a worry creeps in, your to-do list explodes, your inner critic whispers something about yesterday or tomorrow. Modern life is designed to pull us out of now. But here's the good news. We can train ourselves to return. The present moment is always waiting. We just have to choose it. 3 daily practices to reclaim the present. Let's talk about how. Here are 3 Stoic-inspired, mindfulness-backed tools that help you come back to now, no matter where your mind's trying to run. Focus on your breath and senses. Your breath is always with you. It's your anchor. When the mind spins, pause. Take a slow, deep inhale. Feel your lungs expand. Notice what you see, hear, and feel around you. You don't have to escape your thoughts. You just have to return to your senses. In that space, you find stillness. Label emotions without judgment. This one's powerful. When a strong emotion hits, anger, sadness, fear, don't suppress it. And don't get swept away by it. Instead, just name it. I'm feeling overwhelmed. I'm noticing anxiety. When you name it, you create distance. And in that space, you create choice. It's not about controlling your emotions. It's about not letting them control you. Practice daily gratitude. Gratitude grounds you. Each morning or evening, write down 3 things you're grateful for. Not big, grand things. Simple ones, the quiet of the early morning, a deep breath, someone who smiled at you today. Gratitude shifts your attention from what's missing to what's already here. And what we appreciate, we experience more deeply. Real-world examples of the now factor. Let's bring this to life. You're standing in line at the grocery store. Your mind starts racing, emails, errands, frustrations. Try this, feel your feet on the ground. Notice the sounds, take a breath. You're back, you're here. You're not rushing through life, you're living it. Or maybe you're talking to a friend, but your mind keeps jumping to what you'll say next. Try this, slow down, really listen. Notice their tone, their words. That's presence, and presence is love. The benefits of living in the now. This isn't just feel-good advice. Living in the present has real, measurable effects. Reduced stress, greater mental clarity, deeper relationships, more peace and resilience. And maybe most importantly, you stop missing your life. You stop running through moments like checkboxes, and you start experiencing them like gifts, a challenge for today, right now, wherever you are, because the mind loves to jump to conclusions. And in doing so, it often jumps into confusion. Why our minds misinterpret reality. Imagine walking into a room where 2 people stop talking as you enter. What's your first thought? They're talking about me. They don't want me here. I must have done something wrong. But what if they were talking about a surprise for you, or dealing with something personal that had nothing to do with you? You see, our brains are wired for survival, not accuracy. They fill in gaps quickly, often with fear, ego, or past pain. And while this used to keep us alive in the wild, today it mostly just keeps us stressed out and misguided. The Stoic way: pause, reflect, see clearly. The Stoics knew this. That's why they practiced what we can call the Stoic pause, a moment between stimulus and response. Instead of reacting instantly, they stepped back. They questioned their own perceptions. They chose clarity over assumption. Let's walk through 4 Stoic practices that help us overcome sensory illusion and live with greater clarity. Question your initial interpretation. Ask yourself, is this the only way to see this? Or just the first way I saw it? That snarky text from your friend, was it really rude? Or did you read it through the lens of a bad day? By challenging your immediate assumptions, you create space for truth. Seek alternative perspectives. One of the most powerful things you can do is ask, what might I be missing? Talk to others. Ask how they saw the same event. Sometimes one conversation can completely change your understanding. The Stoics believed that wisdom grows when ego shrinks, and asking questions shrinks ego fast. Rely on reason and evidence. Feelings are real, but they're not always facts. You may feel rejected, but did anyone actually reject you? You may feel like you failed, but was it really failure or just feedback? Let reason balance emotion. Let evidence inform belief. Be mindful of emotional reactions. Emotions color everything. If you're tired, angry, or anxious, your perceptions will likely be distorted. So when you're emotionally charged, try not to act. Instead, observe. Say, I'm noticing frustration right now. I'll wait to respond until I've cooled down. That pause, that's power. Modern examples of sensory illusion. Think of how many misunderstandings begin with a text message. No tone, no facial cues, just assumptions. Or how often we judge someone based on a 3-second video online. We forget, what we perceive is not always what is. And without the stoic pause, we risk building entire narratives, stories in our heads based on illusions. What happens when we see clearly? When we start living with clearer perception, we argue less because we don't assume the worst. We forgive more because we see the full picture. We reduce stress because we no longer chase shadows. Clarity brings peace, and peace gives us the strength to choose wiser actions. A challenge for today. Think of a recent time you felt hurt, offended, or misunderstood. Now ask yourself, what story did I tell myself in that moment? Was that story based on fact or filtered emotion? What other interpretations might exist? Then ask, what would a Stoic do here? Would they lash out? Or would they pause, reflect, and seek the truth beneath the surface? That moment of reflection could change the entire trajectory of your relationships and your peace of mind. Our senses are a gift, but they're not perfect. They show us a version of the world, not the whole truth, and that's okay. Because with awareness, we can refine our vision. So pause, question, reflect, let go of the rush to judge, and lean into the wisdom of discernment. Because the person who sees clearly lives freely. If this episode opened your eyes, hit like, share it with someone who tends to jump to conclusions, and join us next time for Lesson 9. The Daily Fire, how to build resilience through tiny disciplines. Until then, question your filters, trust your reason, and remember, what you see isn't always what's true. Let's be honest. Have you ever sat down to work, only to end up answering texts, checking 5 tabs, scrolling through your inbox, and somehow watching a cat video you didn't ask for? Yeah, me too. We live in the age of distraction, and our minds, they've turned into monkeys swinging from one thought to another, one app to the next. But here's the truth. A distracted mind can never build a meaningful life. And that's what today's Stoic lesson is all about. The focus formula, and how to tame the monkey mind so you can reclaim your clarity, creativity, and power. The problem: multitasking isn't mastery. You've probably heard someone say, "I'm great at multitasking," but research and reality say otherwise. When we split our attention, we don't become more efficient. We become more scattered, more stressed, and ironically, less productive. Seneca, the Roman Stoic, put it perfectly. To be everywhere is to be nowhere. You can't go deep when you're always skimming the surface. You can't create something meaningful when your attention is fractured. And most importantly, you can't live fully if you're not truly present. Why focus is your superpower in a noisy world. In today's world, attention is the new currency. Companies pay billions to hijack it. Notifications fight for it. And your peace depends on protecting it. The Stoics didn't deal with smartphones, but they understood the principle. Guard your mind like a fortress. Because what you focus on becomes your life. The focus formula. 4 Stoic habits to reclaim your mind. Here are 4 simple but powerful Stoic-inspired habits to tame the monkey mind and sharpen your focus. Prioritize what truly matters. Not everything on your to-do list is important. Ask yourself, what work, if done today, would bring me closer to my purpose? What would my future self thank me for? The Stoics believed in clarity of purpose. If you chase everything, you'll catch nothing. So each morning, choose 1 or 2 meaningful tasks and protect them with everything you've got. Block time for deep work. Ever try writing, creating, or solving a complex problem while bouncing between emails? Exactly. It doesn't work. Your brain needs uninterrupted space to go deep. Try this. Set a 60-90 minute block. No phone, No multitasking, just one thing. And watch what happens to your output and your sense of flow. Seneca would call this living deliberately. Not rushed, not reactive, but fully engaged. Minimize digital distractions. Your phone isn't just a tool, it's a temptation machine. Each ping, buzz, or alert pulls you away from the present moment. Try these small shifts. Turn off non-essential notifications. Keep your phone in another room during deep work. Use apps like Do Not Disturb or Focus Mode. It's not about being perfect, it's about being intentional. The more you control your tech, the more you control your life. Practice mindful transitions. Here's a secret most people miss. The time between tasks matters. When you jump from one thing to the next without pausing, your mind stays fragmented. But when you pause, even for 30 seconds to breathe, reset, and set intention for the next task, your focus sharpens. Try this between meetings, before answering emails, before switching roles from work to home. It's like clearing the mental whiteboard so you can show up fully to what's next. Everyday examples of a tamed mind. Picture this. You start the day with your top 2 priorities written down. You work on them in a 90-minute focused block, phone off. You take short, mindful breaks. You check emails just twice a day. And in the evening, you're more present with family, less burned out and proud of what you got done. That's not just productivity, that's powerful living. The benefits: what happens when you focus? When you reclaim your attention, you gain deeper creativity, higher quality work, more peace of mind, stronger presence with the people you care about. And maybe most importantly, you stop living in reaction and start living by intention. A challenge for today. Take a look at your day ahead. Ask yourself, what are the 1-2 most meaningful things I can do today? When will I block time to do them deeply? What distractions can I remove, even just for an hour? Then try it. Just one focused block, one moment of full presence, one choice to tame the monkey mind, and feel the difference. Focus isn't about discipline alone. It's about devotion to your goals, your growth, and your peace. In a world that's trying to steal your attention, be the one who protects it. If this lesson helped you slow down and recenter, give it a thumbs up, share it with someone feeling overwhelmed, and join us next time for Lesson 10. The Stillness Code: How Silence Sharpens the Mind. Until then, prioritize what matters, protect your attention, and remember, where your focus goes, your life flows, and silence can speak louder than noise. Welcome to our final Stoic lesson in this series, the quiet power of restraint, why we mistake busyness for bravery. Let's start with a truth that many of us try to avoid. Being busy doesn't mean you're being effective. In fact, busyness is often a form of escapism, a way to avoid deeper truths, a distraction from what truly matters. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful men in ancient history, once wrote, "Avoid being a person of too many words or too many deeds." Why? Because when we say yes to everything, we stand for nothing. When we act without intention, we lose direction. And when we constantly fill the space, there's no room left for clarity. The modern dilemma: overstimulated, overcommitted, overwhelmed. Think about it. The entrepreneur who's always grinding but never at peace. The parent who says yes to every school event, every volunteer role, until there's nothing left in the tank. The person online who posts 20 stories a day but never slows down long enough to reflect. We praise activity but neglect alignment. We admire speed but forget about substance. The Stoics remind us, real power doesn't come from how much we say or do, it comes from how intentionally we live. 4 Stoic practices for the power of restraint. If you're ready to trade exhaustion for clarity and noise for focus, here are 4 timeless Stoic practices to live with restraint and strength. 1. Prioritize deeply, not broadly. Not everything deserves your energy. Instead of doing 10 things at 10%, what if you did 2 things at 100%? Ask yourself, what truly matters today? What would create the most meaningful impact, not just the most motion? Busyness feels productive, but only focus leads to progress. Be fully present and focused. It's not just what you do, it's how you do it. When you show up to a task, whether it's a work call, a workout, or a conversation with your child, be there. Fully. No phone, no mental to-do list, no rush to the next thing. Presence is rare, and rare things are powerful. Speak less, but with intention. The world doesn't need more noise, it needs more meaning. Before speaking, ask yourself, is this true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. Restraint in speech builds respect, and intention in language creates trust. Embrace silence and stillness. Silence is not empty, it's full of answers. Stillness is not inaction, it's insight waiting to be heard. Start small. A quiet 5 minutes before the day begins. A walk without music or podcasts. A pause before reacting. You'll be amazed at what rises when the noise fades. Why this is hard today, but more important than ever. Let's be honest, restraint is countercultural. We're told to build a brand, stay visible, be loud, stay on. But maybe the people we admire most, those who move us, aren't the loudest. They're the most anchored. They know who they are, they know what matters. And they don't waste energy proving it. That's stoicism in action. The result, quiet strength, clear direction, deeper peace. When you live with restraint, you conserve energy, you increase clarity. You become a person others trust, not for how much you say, but for how deeply you live. You move with calm power, you lead by example, and you stop chasing applause because you've found your purpose. A final challenge for you. As we close this series, ask yourself, where in my life am I doing too much and saying too little of substance? Where can I trade activity for alignment? What would it look like to live with quiet strength? Then try it. Say no to one unnecessary thing this week. Schedule one pocket of stillness. Let one silence speak for you. The world will always ask for more of you, but you don't have to give in to the noise. You can pause. You can choose. You can lead with restraint. Because true power isn't about doing more. It's about doing what matters with clarity, presence, and purpose. Thank you for joining me in this journey through the wisdom of the Stoics. If this lesson and this series brought you value, consider sharing it with someone who needs less noise and more peace. Until next time, live wisely, speak with intention, and remember, you don't need to be loud to be powerful. So here we are, at the end of a journey, but also the beginning of something much deeper. We've walked through 10 timeless Stoic lessons, ideas born over 2,000 years ago, but more relevant now than ever before. In a world overwhelmed by distraction, noise, ego, and stress, Stoicism offers something rare and powerful: clarity, stability, peace, purpose. And maybe you've realized along the way, this philosophy isn't just for scholars or monks. It's for you, it's for all of us, living real lives with real struggles in a very real world. Stoicism, not abstract, deeply practical. Let's bust a myth right here. Stoicism isn't about being cold, emotionless, or passive. It's about being deliberate. It's about choosing response over reaction, clarity over chaos, and inner strength over external validation. The Stoic advantage is this: you don't control everything, but you always control how you think, how you see, and how you act. And that power changes everything. A quick recap: the 10 lessons that shape the Stoic mind. Let's remind ourselves what we've explored together. 1 Mind makeover: you become what you repeatedly think. Shape your mental diet wisely. 2, Mental gatekeeping, guard your mind like a castle. Don't let toxic inputs take over. 3. Seeing through illusion, perception isn't always truth. Pause, reflect, see clearly. For the ego trap, success is a test. Stay grounded, humble, and rooted in values. 5. The know-it-all trap. I don't know is the start of real wisdom. Stay curious. 6. Focus on what's yours, control your responses, not the world. Stay centered. 7. Embrace the present, this moment is all you ever have. Don't miss it. 8. Limits of perception, your senses lie sometimes. Don't trust first impressions blindly. 9. Taming the monkey mind, stop multitasking. Focus creates freedom. 10. Quiet power of restraint, do less. Say less, mean more. Each of these lessons isn't a one-time fix. They're practices, disciplines to return to again and again. So, what does this all mean for you? Let me ask you something. What if just one of these lessons, applied consistently, helped you? Think more clearly when you're overwhelmed. Stay calm in the face of drama. Navigate success without losing your soul. Make decisions from your values, not your fears. Would it be worth it? That's the Stoic advantage. It doesn't promise perfection, it builds resilience. It won't erase hardship, but it gives you the tools to stand through the storm with your dignity intact. The challenge going forward: live one lesson at a time. You don't need to master everything at once. In fact, that's the opposite of Stoic thinking.